Hey up!
Hey up!
Hey. How's it going? Okay. Are we alright? I'm feeling really under pressure here now. Flipping heck, honest to God. If some of my mates could see me now, just standing here in front... Yeah, they can. My biggest critic, it's good that he's here. Great, thank you ever so much for coming to my session. I'm overwhelmed by the numbers. It's been great so far. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
Good. So I suddenly turned into some sort of blue coat. Yeah, come on, let's do this. Right, the session was called Lessons Worth Behaving For, so let's just check that out now. If you're having a total nightmare with year 9, or a total headache with year 3, I haven't got any magic beans to sort that out. What I wanted to spend the short time we've got together doing is just reporting some stuff I've found out in my own practice, but also just hopefully giving you a little bit of space just to reflect on what I'm offering humbly to you, and just for you to have a think and a chat amongst yourselves as well about how it would work for you. I'm not particularly selling anything. I'm a man in a Matalan suit, you know, but on Thursday, I had the privilege of being told to F off by a year 6 who didn't really want to do George's Marvellous Medicine. How was I to know? I thought he was up for it. I said, have any of you got anything you'd like to add back? And he just did that. Okay. I was just trying to figure out, wow, what am I going to do about that? And there was something interesting just happening in that moment. And there was a little bit of talk, obviously, this morning about creativity, which we might come back to. I do get labelled up as some sort of happy, clappy, jazz-handed creative type. But all I think creativity is knowing what the hashtag is. I guess it was that, but there was a few this morning. That's my Twitter. And so on. I did a Twilight recently. It was a bit like this. You know, I do get asked to do Twilights, and I love them a lot of the time. And the vast majority of the time, even though teachers are absolutely shattered and all that, they still step up, and it amazes me. Hearing all about the pressure that we have to we have to put up with this morning that we heard about, I think it's amazing. But this is a northern Twilight, as you can see. But anyway, just my background is Barnsley in South Yorkshire.
Yay!
Yeah! It's Barnsley in South Yorkshire where I taught for a very long time, and I still work there. I don't know if anyone went to Dave Whittaker's session first. I do a lot of the I've worked with Springwell for a long time, a special school around curriculum and lessons worth behaving for, rooms worth staying in, people worth investing in, spending your time with, that kind of thing. So a lot of my work is special schools, a lot of it is primary, but I'm a secondary teacher by trade. I've got my heart on my sleeve and I'm a trioga, and I'm not bothered. And if I've got a thing, it's how do we hook our children in? How do we fascinate? How do we engage our children in what might be really challenging and difficult curriculum? I'd like to think that all curriculum is nice and enjoyable and fun, but we know it isn't. It's actually rock hard. I've stood there trying to teach The Crucible by Arthur Miller to a load of year 10s who only took drama because they didn't want to do history. And they were explicit in explaining that as well. Right, sir, we like you, but we hate drama, and we're not doing it. And that was the sort of agreement we'd have at the beginning. Now that was stressful. But this idea of hooking in and how do we engage? I solved the Crucible issue by just saying, do you want to do a play about sex, violence, death and witchcraft? And they're like, we're up for that shit! You know? So that was all right. Now, the hooking in, this is supposed to be a hole that's been dug and filled up with learning. The trap that we set. That sort of orientation that we allow our children when they come in, be it secondary, primary, special, whatever, they come in and actually they know how to be in this space. They know how to be in this classroom. And I suppose we set the tone for all that. That comes from me being taught science back in the 80s. Mr. Jones used to teach us science. The fascinator and the hook he had was usually a dead thing in a jar.
And we'd go in, we'd run in, me and my pals going, "Sir, what's that? What's that, sir?" And he'd go, "That, boys, that's the fetus of a calf." Now, he probably shouldn't have been working with kids. He was a good lad, and he wanted us to engage in the subject, and he wanted us to be interested, and we ran to those lessons. So that's me setting the tone for this session, really. I just want to start with just reporting back straight away some work, and I'm just appealing to you in the short time that we have. Please, can you put these, just a couple of examples I'm going to offer to you, can you put them through your filter? Because I am secondary, but there's primary examples, year 2. So if you're post-16, can you look at the principles at play? What I'm trying to get across. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that all right? Yeah. Soon be coffee. So here's a question. And I'd just like you to turn to the person next to you. And rather than say, "Well, I don't know anything about Egyptians," actually, I'd rather you said, "Well, actually, I can probably have a think about how you do go about building a pyramid and what would be the sensible way of doing it." So would you mind turning to the person next to you? Or is this inset nightmare now? Oh, well, I got to talk to someone. I don't do chit-chat, you know. Just have a go. Just have a go. We know how to build a pyramid, don't we? Have a chat. It's not working if you're on -4. I had a colleague who used to think that shushing worked. Judging, and I can only assume from your conversation, I had a very confident group at the bottom saying, "Yes, we know." Very confident down here. These are our experts. Let's say that year 5 are doing Egyptians. I love that doing. Doing Egyptians. We've been doing Victorians. We've gone out of sync. Accidentally, we forgot Egyptians. So we've gone back in a time machine. We're doing them, but we can't spend too long on them because we've got to do harvest. Harvest. A lot of doing, isn't there? A lot of doing. I went to year 5 in Cleethorpes, Grimsby, and it's a brilliant place. Anyone from that end?
Yeah.
What are you doing under there? It is warmer down here. It's only a few miles away. But in Cleethorpes, I met these kids, and they've been doing Egyptians for a couple of weeks. So I went in there and I said, "Look, do we know how to build a pyramid?" And they were all like, you know. Secondaries, this is called enthusiasm. Well then, Callum, tell us all about it. Well, what are you doing? Full-on expert, because he's taken the knowledge and skills. He's got it. And what we're doing is we're playing. We're playing. But actually, there's probably more serious and academic things at play. But we are just playing with the idea. And they do tell me. And they do that thing. Perhaps you talked about, well, what you do. Perhaps seriously you were talking about, yes, we'll get some logs. Using a system of pulleys. It's quite complex. Shall I draw it for you? They were just telling me, this is how we could do it. What they're doing is speculating, but the question is inductive. You can see it and it's something you'll do all the time, but please listen for it. Please listen for it next week when you're working with your kids. It's an inductive question. It's not, pretend we were building a pyramid. I found, certainly in the special, that you made, the special setting for the SEND children, they don't want to pretend, but rather they just do it. So, should we say we're building the pyramid? And I'm inviting the children to participate. So that were Cleethorpes. Written off. That were Cleethorpes, buzzing, look at them, brilliant. This is in Cairo. I was lucky enough to go and work in some schools in Cairo. So I went in there and said, "Hey, do we know how to build a pyramid?" They're all like going, yeah, actually, you need a system of pulleys. And I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not being self-deprecating really. I am still coming to terms, this was January, I'm still coming to terms with what the heck's going on there, where children in Cleethorpes and the children in Cairo are pretty much coming up with the same responses. It might be that the curriculum is very similar, of course. It might be that they live there. But let's not make assumptions.
Because I think there was I think there was 30 kids in there. I'd say 10 of them have been to the pyramids. And my thought there is, I was thinking about this prior to today, and I was thinking, well, I haven't been to Stonehenge. You know, I've been to Stratford once when I was studying English, you know, when I was a student. And I was thinking, well, maybe there was some assumptions at play there. Now, I'm not manhandling that child. I'm not. It was basically, he is absolutely desperate for his table to be selected by the vizier, the pharaoh's right-hand man, to be the chosen organisation to build the pyramid. This was the task. The pharaoh would like a pyramid built in his honour before he dies. And straight away there's tension in the rooms, because in Cleethorpes they were calling him Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, he were 19. He was not dead. Tutankhamun. And we had a laugh about that. It was the joke. So the tension, can you see the tension there in the request? Is actually, well, how old is the pharaoh and is he ill? Because according to one child in Cleethorpes, well, you know that it takes 24 years to construct a pyramid. he was full of it, honestly. Now, so there's a lot of tension. You can see they're wanting to contribute to stuff, this discussion. Now this kid here is now having to take a very difficult phone call from the vizier because the pyramid isn't ready, and he's having to explain that over lunchtime at school, the granite blocks have sunk to the bottom of the Nile. So he's now having to sort of feel the problem. Now, I'm telling you all this because I'm not asking you really to think about pyramids and pharaohs. I'm asking you to think about learning, and I'm asking you to think about the curriculum. And where is it there? It's not just the Egyptians. For those children in Cairo, it's about learning English. It's about, if you think about our EAL children, that boy is having to negotiate quite a challenging conversation in a safe place, because we're in a story. So it's safe. And his peers are all shouting advice to him. And things like, don't say it, no, what are you saying that for? And things like that. And eventually he just slammed the phone down and said, you do it then! Which is brilliant. And I hope the curriculum you can see is perhaps one of articulacy and development of articulacy. And how do we help our children, perhaps in Cleethorpes, perhaps in Cairo, to find the words? How do we help them find the words? Sort of bring us down. Being a bit too happy. Those are zombies from some Spanish horror film. But I don't want to be. I don't want to be a ghost, and I don't want to be working with people who are walking around having disconnected themselves from ownership of the classroom and ownership over the curriculum. Days like this are brilliant because we have the link between the research. You've all got a lovely document in your bags with some short essays about pedagogy in there. And they're worth a read, they're not just a bag filler. We've got the research, we have movements of teachers now, like Research Ed, which is just brilliant, and this sort of events that are kind of closing that gap between what happens in classroom and what happens in the academic side of it, if you like. If you like, we're grabbing hold of the academic, and I like that's happening now. And today is an example of that. But you know as well as I do, we can do a lot of chin rubbing and thinking today. It all changes when we step into the room, perhaps, with our children. Do you think? Here's a kid, here's an illustration of that. Dear Mum, thank you so much for